Welcome back to my Dragon Age Headcanon. Today we're talking about my personal Inquisitors. I have 8, a male and female from all 4 races, and I have my own headcanon origin stories for all of them. Before I get to that, I want to talk about something else. I like to think of all my Inquisitors existing and even knowing each other, but only one is in the temple and receives the anchor and subsequently becomes Inquisitor. As for who is in the temple, I like to think of that as each happening in different timelines. Same thing for my Warden back in Origins. The Warden's recruitment is entirely dependent on where Duncan is at the time. So I like to imagine about 1,000 years after the Dragon Age, there's some kind of magic storm, and during it, an ordinary forensic scientist is struck by lightning. He's in a coma for a few months, but once he wakes up, he discovers he has super speed. So he uses his new abilities to help people and fight crime and things like that. Until one day, he discovers his super speed gives him the ability to time travel. So he keeps going back and changing the timeline no matter how many times people tell him to stop changing the timeline. And each time he does, it causes some very minor disruptions in the timeline. Though one of the more significant ones is where and when Duncan was at the beginning of Origins. In the first timeline, he was at Castle Kuzlan during Arlhau's attack. A different timeline, he instead went to the Circle of Magi. In timelines 3 and 4, he was in Orzammar, and it was just a matter of where and when. Was he at the palace or at the Proving Grounds? Was he in the Deep Roads to encounter Idugan, or did he stick around for a while to recruit Braska? And the Human Commoner will say that was in Flashpoint. I'll probably do my Wardens in another episode, but we're here to talk about the Inquisitors. But it's the same thing of various timelines. I say all of them survived, some even joined the Inquisition, but only one was inside the temple, and that's who disrupted Corypheus' ritual. So I'm going to go through and give you a short bio on each of them. My number 1 in personal canon is a female elf named Talian. She is a mage who has a twin brother named Tessereth, who is also a mage and a close second for my main canon. They were raised as first and second together in their clan, which usually wouldn't happen, but their family, as the name would suggest, was very important to the clan, so they allowed it. The biggest reason I chose Talian over Tessereth is Cullen. I'm a bit of a fangirl, I'll admit, I'm not ashamed. Although, as I've said before, I am greatly disappointed with Cassandra and Josephine's romances. Not to say I don't like their romances, just that I like Cullen's better. So Talian specializes as a Rift Mage because she's more about knowledge and strategy, whereas Tessereth is a Knight Enchanter, largely because he wants to lead by example. Both are diplomatic, but they have good senses of humor. Moving on to the humans, we have Lucia, a Circle Mage, and her cousin Jacob, who's a Guard. I don't know how city guards relate to the nobility and their personal guards, especially in Ostwick, but Jacob likes helping, defending, and solving mysteries. He has some training in Templar tactics from his family who are in the Ostwick Templars, but he never became a Templar himself. Lucia got along with her cousin as kids, but the Trevellians are a huge family, so it's not like they only had each other. Still, they would be sure to catch up whenever Lucia got to attend gatherings and Jacob got time off guarding and whatnot. I've actually never completed a playthrough as Jacob, but he specializes as a Templar because A, he has a little experience with them already, and B, Templar is the only warrior specialization that's worth a damn. Yeah, I said it. Fight me. Nah, I'm kidding. It just matches best with how I like to play. Oh, and Lucia romances Cullen, and Jacob... I don't know, I go back and forth. Probably Cassandra, though. Moving on to the Dwarves, we have Mirabella and Jason. It took me way too long to come up with a good name for Jason because so little goes with Kadash. These two are also cousins. Mirabella is a few years older than Jason, and it was her father that was the main boss of the family, with Jacob's father being the underboss. The two brothers mostly took inspiration from their uncle when it came to running the family. Unlike their father, he didn't like ruling with fear. He believed it had its place, but he recognized the wisdom in the phrase, "a bully has few friends when he needs them most." He also avoided targeting innocent shopkeeps for racketeering or theft. Now, if the shopkeep was an asshole... Anyway, the philosophy of ethical crime was what their uncle preached. And when he got to take over the family, he did his best to slowly turn it around. His nephews continued that trend, and they did lose some income as a cost, but they increased goodwill and new opportunities opened up. Now, Mirabella and Jason still follow that same philosophy, but let's not forget that they are criminals. They still smuggle, they still steal and all that. They just try not to be assholes about it. Personally, Mirabella always liked learning, but she also liked a good fight. She's a thinker. She's a good strategist both in combat and business. Jason is more of a hothead, but he's certainly a capable leader. When the chips are down, he steps up and takes control. The rest of the time, he's either laid back or fired up. As you can imagine, he's hard to play as an Inquisition. Especially since all of my characters pretty much always make the same decisions all around with only a little bit of deviation in dialogue. Now, Mirabella can be either a rogue or a warrior, but I lean towards rogue. She specializes as an artificer since, again, she likes knowledge and she's good at building stuff. Jason is a warrior that specializes as a Templar because, again, it matches my style. But personally, he just likes the idea of Templar abilities. His personality may be a bit more fitting with Champion, but the way he works on the battlefield, not so much. As for romances, Mirabella, who likes to go by either Mira or Bella, by the way, I would want to romance Bull. I think the relationship fits with her and is adorable. However, I can't seem to bring myself to break up adorable. So I romanced Sarah when I played as Mira, but then... Whittle. For Jason, I also do kind of like the idea of him being with Bull or Dorian, but again, yeah. So I instead go with Cassandra. I think they can be really good together. Finally, the Qunari, Dusan and Nissa Adar. Some of you know where I got the names. So Nissa is an archer and Dusan is a mage. Now, the Iron Bull says Adar means weapon, but Mary Kirby has stated that that's not the literal translation. Adar literally means fire thrower. It's because of that I decided Dusan should be a mage. In my headcanon, Adar is a nickname given by the Valokas. Nissa, on the other hand, is an archer with a bow that has a fire enchantment. So when they both joined, they earned the names the siblings Adar. Now, in my headcanon, Nissa was born 3 years ahead of Dusan and loved reading. She took great inspiration from particular heroes that fancied the bow and arrow. Her parents were able to get her into a fighting class because she wanted to be like those heroes so much. When Dusan came into his magic, their parents hired the Valokas to train him. That's when Nissa first found out about them and wanted to join them. When Nissa was old enough, that's exactly what she did. 2 or 3 years later, Dusan followed suit. I'm actually writing an entire fanfic about them, and I'd love to share it with you guys when it's ready. Now, Dusan is a necromancer because he likes scaring his enemies on the battlefield. Nissa is an artificer because she's fond of hitting enemies by surprise, especially with traps. Nissa actually romances Blackwall. Though I can still see her with Sarah, I think they're better as friends. Dusan romances Cassandra. He's also a big softy underneath. Though I like the idea of him and Mirabella. I'm not sure if that's something I want to explore in my fanfics. Can I ship my own characters? Anyway, I think that's about it. Again, all of my Inquisitors pretty much make the same choices throughout. One of the only ones that differ are that some of them may choose to recruit the Templars, but that really leaves a bad taste in my mouth. The other big decision that changes is whether to disband the Inquisition or not. Talian, Nissa, and Mirabella choose to disband. Everyone else chooses to stay. That's just based on their personalities. So I think that about wraps this up. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you later.